Alrighty, guys. Good morning to you all here. A happy Thursday, July 31st, 2025. Here, the last day of the month. Crazy. We're already about to start the month of August tomorrow. We're already over halfway through the year here. As we are entering that period here, we are going to see an uptick for severe weather as we go towards this week and next week, really towards the beginning of next week here, as we see a new pattern set up, allowing for a more of a hotter increase in temperatures back over into the West Pacific. Or some of our hottest temperatures will be coming out of next week here down into Southern California, down toward the Four Corners, the Southern Plains. We'll start to also see that cooler air mass start to take effect today across portions of the Ohio Valley and the Northeast as that cold front swings through, allowing for temperatures to drop into the 50s and the 60s for overnight lows over the next couple of days, as well as temperatures in the 70s and low 80s for highs. So it'll be a very nice weekend. If you live in the Mid-Atlantic, the Southeast, I would say more in terms of the northern portions of the Southeast. The Gulf will still be pretty hot and pretty humid, but we'll start to see those dew points go down. If you're in the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, the Upper Plains, we might even see some 40s sneak into portions of Minnesota and into Wisconsin for overnight lows. So we'll talk about all that, break that down for you guys. We're going to see a big pattern changes again as we go into next week, where we're going to see, like I said, that severe weather return. Talking about the tropics as well, we're not seeing a lot of tropical activity in the Atlantic Ocean. It's mostly confined to the Pacific Ocean right now. So just a crazy amount of storms in the Pacific Ocean right now. So kind of a flip-flop. You get one active season on one side, not so active on the other side. That's typically how it works most of the times. It'll flip-flop, hopefully not flip-flop, but if it were to flip-flop, we'll probably see that happen later towards the end of August, September, October. So right now, not watching anything crazy in the tropics for the next 7 days. We'll talk about that here in just a second as well. But what you guys can see on your screen here is our upper level satellite. So you can see a disturbance up here into the West Pacific, bringing some rain, some thunderstorms up there. A coastal system off the coast of South Carolina and North Carolina as well, bringing some rain. We had some pretty heavy rain yesterday with that moderate risk for flash flooding up into portions of southern PA, West Virginia, and Virginia yesterday. So we saw some pretty significant flooding up here yesterday. Rainfall rates of about 3 to 4 inches were totalized from those storms yesterday there. In some areas, I think even saw higher than that yesterday as well. But you can actually see where that cold front is at here, and that is kind of hanging in the balance here across the Midwest. That front will be pushing through later on this afternoon, and once that front comes through, you are going to notice a big relief in those dew points, as well as those temperatures are going to come down. So that will be something really exciting. The sad thing is we're still going to have to deal with it down here in the Southern Plains and the Gulf. Still going to be humid, still going to be hot. We'll break that forecast down for you guys here in just a second. I will go ahead and switch over to the National Hurricane Center here, and we can talk about what we're going to be seeing for today here. And right now we've got 3 systems that we're watching for, technically 4, down here into the Pacific Ocean. We still have Tropical Storm Iona has weakened from a Cat 3 yesterday to a tropical storm. We've got a new disturbance south of that we're watching as well, south of Hawaii. We've also got Tropical Storm Jill, which will more than likely become a hurricane later on at some point in the next couple of days, and then another disturbance behind it. So we've got 4 systems across the Pacific here that we are watching. Central Pacific as well, not looking like anything too crazy other than Iona sitting here in the Central Pacific. That will continue to weaken and become a fish storm, or stay a fish storm. And then if we're looking at the Atlantic Ocean here as well, really not looking at too much other than a quiet period for the next 5 to 7 days here. We start to turn our attentions toward next week, end of next week, where we could see a couple of lows develop off the East Coast, as well as some more tropical waves moving off here. So if anything changes, we'll keep you guys updated on that. You guys know we'll always have updates regarding anything tropical, severe weather, or anything like that. So we'll keep you guys updated on that. I also want to go ahead and hop to the Storm Prediction Center here and talk about what's going to be happening here today. We did get an upgrade to 2 slight risk zones for today, a wind threat on both regions here. Not really looking at a tornado threat on either area today. A wind and a hail threat back up here into Philadelphia, Baltimore, Maryland, Washington, D.C., Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the marginal, and then a new marginal risk down here towards northern Louisiana, most of Arkansas in that there, Little Rock. You're also in that marginal risk for wind later on this afternoon, eastern extreme Oklahoma, southeast Oklahoma there, and eastern Texas. We've also got a marginal risk and a slight risk that extends from Montana and Idaho back down into Wyoming, into Nebraska, into South Dakota, into Colorado here with a level 2 slight risk from Denver back up to Sheridan, as we see some weak troughing set up a damaging wind hail threat. We actually saw an observed tornado yesterday in a non 2%. So when I always tell you guys we get these severe weather risk zones, even though there's not a highlighted 2% tornado risk again like today, doesn't mean you can't rule out a tornado happening. And we did see an observed tornado yesterday outside of Colorado City. So very brief tornado, but it still happened. So something we watch very closely with these events here. Like I said, no 2% tornado risk today, less than 2%, but not 0. Wind threat at 15 and 5% for all regions there that are highlighted for winds up to 70 miles per hour. And then the hail threat is at 15 and 5% along the central and northern plains there. So we'll keep you guys updated on that. We get to tomorrow's severe weather outlook here, and we don't have really too much again expected. A marginal risk from the high plains down to the central plains and the Rockies, and then a marginal risk back into North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia for the chance for wind on both of those days. Tomorrow we'll have the winds up to 60 miles per hour possible central and some small hail back up into the plains. Once again, tornado risk is less than 2%, not zero. And then we get to the day 3 outlook for your Saturday here, as we do have a marginal risk once again for the Rockies and the central plains here for wind, hail, and maybe a brief isolated tornado. We get to the next week here, going into Sunday and into next week. Not looking at any probabilities as of right now, but we are talking about severe weather probabilities returning. Both the European and the GFS suggesting troughing, meaning that we're going to see potentially another weak ridge set up and allow troughing over top of that ridge. It'll be this zonal flow again, allowing for damaging winds, a couple tornado threats, and then we'll have the hail. So we'll talk more about that here in just a second. I do want to go ahead and briefly talk again about what we're going to be seeing here for today's severe weather setup across the East Coast as well as into the central and southern plains. Today's severe weather threat, you can see some thunderstorms across much of the region down here into portions of South Carolina, North Carolina. Those should be most or lesser on the severe weather side of things this afternoon here. We'll see that cold front swinging through, see some showers and thunderstorms with some elevated hail and some wind back up here into West Virginia, southern Pennsylvania, up into Baltimore, Maryland, Washington, D.C. That'll be around 3, 4 o'clock this afternoon, ending around 10 or 11 p.m. Most showers and thunderstorms will be out of here by around 11 o'clock tonight. So very, very scattered, isolated event today. And then tomorrow we'll see that front come through officially down in the southeast, giving us a general thunderstorm chance, maybe some wind and some hail down along the east coast here. Just be mindful, be smart about it. Don't be out if you don't have to be with the thunder and the lightning. Always go indoors when you guys see that stuff happen. You guys know the drill on that. I don't have to speak too much on that. I just like to reiterate it that safety during weather events is always crucial. So that's what we've got for the Mid-Atlantic today. We'll go over here to the plains and talk about what's going to be happening here for today. We do have once again that elevated wind and hail threat this afternoon. Some thunderstorms popping off, supercells popping off around 5 to 6 p.m. Central Time, and then ending around 10 to 11. So a brief window today, and then another brief window tomorrow. Not expecting too much in terms of craziness for you guys. We'll be seeing that potentially next week. Speaking of the upper plains here as well, today you can see that low lifting to the north, allowing for thunderstorms across the board here, maybe some isolated wind and hail events, and then we'll do it all over again tomorrow with that next disturbance. So not, like I said, a lot in the next 3 or 4 days in terms of severe weather. We'll have these isolated to scattered days. It's typical when you see some weak troughing, so the wind and the hail threat will be more elevated than anything, and we'll keep you guys updated on that. Now let's talk about our global pattern, because we're going to see some things changing here. Once again, there's going to be lots of changes. We're entering August. It seems to almost be that August is trying to act like spring tornado season or severe weather season, or that's what at least July was. So we'll talk about that pattern here and what we're going to be seeing. You can see that weak troughing, little disturbance here back into the Rockies, back into the plains. This is what's going to help today's setup and tomorrow's setup. You can see that cold front that will be swinging through, that troughing that will be setting up for today, allowing for some colder temperatures to come in behind the front. You can see your front kind of sitting along the plains all the way up here to the Ohio Valley in the Mid-Atlantic. Still seeing that high pressure dominate down here into Florida, allowing for thunderstorms to continue to spin up around the high there with instability and dew points being plentiful. We get through the weekend here, not expecting a lot. Some weak troughing here, maybe a little disturbance on Saturday across the central and northern plains. We get into next week, and this is where things start to change. We go into Sunday and Monday here, and we could see maybe an organized wind event across the central and southern plains on Sunday. So something I'm watching very, very closely here. If we need to do any live streams or anything like that, we'll definitely have that, but we'll keep you guys updated on that. But then we start to see some big troughing setup along the west coast here going into Monday. And what that's going to do is it's going to set up that new pattern. As I mentioned here, we'll start to see temperatures rebound across majority of the Ohio Valley here. Still be warm and humid, but it's not going to be as bad as it's been the last couple of days. We see a high pressure developing in the four corners, allowing for troughing over top of that. So my thoughts right now is severe weather will probably be hanging around this area through the early portions of next week. So we'll get into details of all that next week once we get closer to that here, more towards the weekend. But then we get in toward the end of next week, and this is where I get concerned again for what could be those MCS or quote unquote derecho potential setups. And I use that word lightly, I don't use it vigorously, just because it's a possibility. Once again, anytime you get a heat dome setting up somewhere, you have zonal flow or meridianal flow on top of that, you're going to get a MCS or two that can set up, and sometimes those can result in high end scenarios. So it's something we have to mention, but it's probably not going to be on the scenario table as of right now until we get closer into the mesoscale details. But I am watching for some very strong troughing late next week towards Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If you live in the central and northern high plains, again, these are going to be the areas to watch. I would be very, very much careful if you're, out in these areas going into next week here. And really, as we go toward the end of next week, and a more potent, or I should say significant trough could set up towards Friday and Saturday, giving us more of a severe weather episode, a higher severe weather episode here going in toward the end of next week. And so definitely some big changes coming. We'll keep things, general thunderstorm wise in the Ohio Valley, the southeast here. I'm not seeing too much of severe weather or anything anything down there, but this concerns me pretty significantly for a big uptick in severe weather for a lot of areas going towards the second and third week of August. And so that means we're going to be busy. We're going to do lots of coverage. If you guys are in Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, the Dakotas, the Plains here, you guys are, probably exhausted and tired of this, but we're going to have to get through it again as we go through the month of August here. I just don't see this something that we can really avoid. So we'll keep you guys updated. Also looks like that troughing may dip down into portions of the lower Ohio Valley toward that following week there. So we'll keep you guys updated on that. Right now, the tropics are pretty quiet as well. Not seeing a lot of activity down there. We may start to see things change and uptrend again as we go towards the middle and end of the month of August. Right now, the first week and a half to 2 weeks of August doesn't look too crazy, but if anything were to change, we'll keep you guys updated. But you can just see lots of troughing, returning here. Maybe even as we get toward the second week of August, end of second week of August, we may see another little break again. But I do expect significant severe weather to continue to be, on the table here, especially when we have such a warm NPO, that warmer northern Pacific oscillation up off the coast of Alaska, giving us just troughing after troughing after troughing. So something we're going to have to deal with for a long period of time. We're going to have to deal with this fall severe weather season going into winter, going into next year. That warm NPO looks like it's going to hang around for quite some time. So we will have severe weather mostly every single week in spurts, or in episodes, as I should say. So we'll keep you guys updated on that. We'll keep you guys updated on the tropics here as always. Here, I'll give you guys one more look at our temperatures before we wrap this video up here, kind of talk about what we're going to be seeing with that. And you can see that cold front that will be swinging through some 50s and some 60s across the board for overnight lows, 60s and 70s on Saturday here. Look at that beautiful, beautiful first taste of fall, I guess is the word I'll use here. That cold front will be sitting along the Tennessee River Valley here, back up into the plains. We even got some 30s and some 40s for higher elevations for overnight lows going into Friday night across the Rockies here, back up into Idaho, Montana, Wyoming here. And you can see, sadly, if you're down in the southeast, there's not going to be much relief. That front's just going to kind of hang around and then eventually push through going into Sunday and Monday. And then we're going to warm things back up again. We'll see higher temperatures more than likely for the central and southern plains. We'll still keep temperatures warm. They won't be in the 90s, hopefully, back into the Ohio Valley in the Northeast. We'll have those 70s, we'll have those 80s, and those dew points will start to rise again as we see some significant troughing return next week. So we'll keep you guys updated on that as always. I appreciate y'all. We might do a live stream later on tonight, potentially for an update. It just depends on how things look tonight. If not, it'll be tomorrow when we get back to doing some updates during live stream. So other than that, guys, be safe, be weather aware, and we'll see you in the next one.